Hare Krishna to all devotees. One message came from His Grace Anand Gaur Sundar Prabhuji that his laptop having some technical issue is joining in some time. Okay, Hare Krishna.
लैपटॉप में कुछ ट्रबल आ रहा था तो इसलिए स्टार्ट नहीं कर पाया, लेट हो गया. जस्ट स्टार्ट नाउ. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति सपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथामृतं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखामृतां च नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामने. नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम राम राम. हुकुम करो कि बात है ना. संसारी नाम करुणया पुराण व्यासम. So we're supposed to start chapter number 31 today. So this is one of the you can say graphical description of birth, because generally people have a lot of confusions about birth. So this chapter will reveal about miseries of birth, because one of the verses of Bhagavad Gita says janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukha dosa anudarsanam. Seeing birth, old age, disease and death as misery is considered one of the items of knowledge. And this chapter will reveal that how it is a cause of misery. Otherwise, people in general don't know about that. Isa Krishna Prabhu, can you mute yourself? Thank you. So, in one of the places in the West, one mattress making company had given a big advertisement. This mattress is as comfortable as your mother's womb. So then our devotees sent third canto of Bhagavatam and told them to read this chapter number 31. So all the realities are revealed in this particular chapter. So verse number 1 to 11 discuss about how after suffering from hell, this jiva enters, grows and suffers in the womb of the mother. And because of that extreme misery and past devotion also, the prayers by devotee jiva within the womb. That means not everyone, but a devotee jiva offers prayers. So that mentioned 20 to 21. 20 to 31 are sufferings of the jiva after he comes out of the womb. And 30 to 48 discusses about effects of bad association. After coming from womb, promising the Lord, I will practice bhakti very nicely. But because of bad association, again, this person becomes entangled. And then verse number 43 to 48 discusses about understanding of birth. So we'll begin with verses 1 to 11. Text number 1, you can repeat after me. Sri Bhagavan Vacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Karmana Deva Netrena
कर्मणा देवनेत्रेण
Jantur Dehopapattaye
जन्तुर्देहोपपत्तये
Sriya Pravishta Udaram
श्रिया प्रविष्ट उदरम्
Pumso Retah Kanasrayaha.
पुंसो रेतानास्य.
Please read translation and the purport.
Translation: The personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of Supreme Lord and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. Purport. As stated in last chapter, after suffering different kinds of hellish conditions, a man comes again to the human form of body. The same topic is continued in this chapter. In order to give a particular type of human form to a person who has already suffered hellish life, soul is transferred to the semen of man who is just suitable to become his father. During the sexual intercourse, the soul is transferred through semen of the father into the mother wombs in order to produce a particular type of body. This process is applicable to all embodied living beings, but it is specially mentioned for the man who has transferred to the Tamish hell. After suffering there, when he when he who had who has had many types of hellish bodies like those of dogs and hogs is to come again to the human form, and he is given the chance to take his birth in the same type of body from which he degraded himself to the hell. Everything is done by the supervision of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Material nature supplies the body, but it does so under the direction of super soul. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that living entity is wandering in the material world on the chariot made by material nature. The Supreme Lord, as Super Soul, is always present within the individual soul. He directs the material nature to supply particular particular type of body to individual soul according to the result of his work, and the material nature supplies it. Here one word is Rakt Kanashriya is very significant because it indicates that it is not the semen of the man that creates the life within the womb of woman. Rather, the living entity, the soul, takes a shelter in the particle of semen and is then pushed into the womb of woman. Then the body develops, and there is no possibility of creating a living entity without the presence of the soul simply by the sexual intercourse. The materialistic theory that there is no soul and that a child is born simply by material combination of sperm and ovum is mm,
Not very feasible.
not acceptable, not a very feasible, and it is not acceptable.
Thank you. So this verse is like very remarkable, and it is also quoted by Prabhupada in many places. Because this reveals the truth, which is like a big challenge for the modern medical industry and also for the governments all over the world. So then this verse says Karmana and Dev Netrena. That means under Netrena means supervision, because from Netra, eyes we see. So under the supervision of karma, according to one's karma, and as supervised by the demigods. Dev. Karma Dev Nitana Jantur Dehe Upattaye. Jantu, the living entity, gets Deha, this body. And how does he get this body? Striya Pravishta Udaram. He enters in the womb of the mother. How? Pumso Reta Kana Asraya. Because he takes the shelter of the sperm of the father. That means when does child gets the life? It comes right from the time of conception from father itself. In one of the other lectures, Prabhupada explains how through rains, the soul enters in the earth. From the earth, it enters in the plants. From the plants, it goes to the grains. From the grains, it enters in the body of the father. Now, somebody will say, what about lions and tigers? They also eat some vegetarian food. Sorry, some vegetarian animal. So ultimately, it comes from the vegetable only. Even those who are non-vegetarians, they get the food from, their food is some other animal or human being who eats vegetarian. And that is how it comes through the grains in the blood and then finally into the semen of the father. And then it is transferred to the womb of the mother. And that is why right from the time of conception, the child has life. So abortion is always a sin. So one of the Supreme Court judges of India was traveling with one of our devotees. Some of you may know him. His name is Rasraj Prabhu from Bhakti Institute. So we were traveling with him, and this gentleman asked this devotee that is abortion all right, or when is abortion all right? And this person was well aware of the scriptures that one gets life, a child gets life as soon as it enters in the womb of the mother. So then this devotee asked him, have you joined some club? So he told, yes, I am a part of Rotary Club. So then he said that in your Rotary Club, is it allowed to steal, have thievery, have murders and rapes? He said, no. He said, why? And this person got his answer. Like one cannot make rules in the Rotary Club unless until they're under the umbrella of Indian Penal Code made by Constitution of India. Similarly, Constitution of India is not allowed to make laws which are not under the umbrella of the laws made by the Supreme Lord. So even if Government of India allows, okay, till this month abortion is allowed, or under this circumstance abortion is allowed, it will still remain a sin. It will still remain a sin. And the proof is that even small kids have different natures from their very childhood. I remember when I was going in train, so then there were some people from other religion, and especially in their religion, the greatest work for the Supreme Lord is to produce children. And if somebody is a renounced state, that time I was a brahmachari, so is in renounced order, that is considered the greatest sin. So this lady was very critical, and he was like, no, speaking all ill words. But then after some time, then she started discussing with her husband that, you know, according to our religion, these children are fallen angels. Ye to farishte hain. They come from sky. But what type of farishta this fellow is? From childhood, he has been stealing and creating trouble for everyone. So what type of farishta Supreme Lord has said? So the point is that there is a past life, that is why there are different natures. And that is the reason people are born in different families. If people were allowed to choose the families, most of the people would be choosing the families of some movie stars or maybe some Ambanis or someone. Nobody would like to be born in a poor family. So that's why karmana deva. Other point which is Prabhupada is emphasizing on in this verses, pumso reta kalasraya. Soul just takes the shelter of mother and father. So mother and father are the medium to allow the child to have this body. Even they don't construct the body. It's not that no mother takes and some chisel and some hammer and no shapes the body of the child. That's why even if sometime mother wants, my child should be like Cupid personified, and he comes out like a crow, fully black and ugly. Oh, it is not in your hand. So that is how father and mother are just the medium for allowing the child to have a body. Now the details are given. When I told these details, showed these verses to one of our relatives, they are gynecologists since last 40 years, both husband and wife. When they saw these verses, they were like shocked. They said, such precision is not there available even today. And when they were studying in late 1980s, around 1979 and 80, they were saying that we didn't had a microscope and other instruments to see how child grows in the womb of the mother. With such photographs were not there, where you can see things with such a precision. And even these purports were written in 1970s by Prabhupada, before that. So this proves how this knowledge is true knowledge. It's beyond the experimental science of today. Rather, it is more precise in the sense, like in this verse itself, we'll find on the fifth night, the mixture ferments into a bubble. Pancharatrena budbudam. According to the modern gynecologist, it ferments into a zygote between fifth day and sixth day. But here it is more precise. It is fifth night itself. So that it is more precise. So that is how these details are right, and not just right, they're more precise than the modern medical science. So anybody who's a new person who says, Vedas are fake and this and that, can show him these verses. So such a person, if he has really has brain, he will surrender. Whereas you will find other religions, in one of the religions, they say that no, child gets the life in third month. It is totally wrong. So they don't know those such details. So now we can read second, third, and fourth.
Hare Krishna. Text number 2. On the first night, the sperm and ovum mix, and on the fifth night, the mixture ferments into a bubble. On the 10th night, it develops into a form of a plum, in a form like a plum, and after that, it gradually turns into a lump of flesh or an egg, as the case may be. Text 3. In the course of a month, a head is formed, and at the end of 2 months, the hands, feet, and other limbs take shape. By the end of 3 months, the nails, fingers, toes, body hair, bones, and skin appear. Hence to the organ of generation and the other apertures in the body, namely the eyes, nostrils, ears, mouth, and anus. Within 4 months from the date of conception, the 7 essential ingredients of the body, namely chyle, blood, flesh, fat, marrow, and semen, come into existence. At the end of 5 months, hunger and thirst make themselves felt, and at the end of 6 months, the fetus, enclosed by amnion, begins to move on the right side of the abdomen.
Thank you. So these verses describe out how in detail child is developed in the womb of the mother. And in the purport, you will find a fourth text. Prabhupada writes, if child begins to move toward the right side of the abdomen, he is a boy. And if he starts moving towards the left side of the abdomen, he is a girl. So that is how even by the movement of the child, one can know whether the child is a boy or a girl. So these details are given by Prabhupada and scriptures. Now the miseries are given. What are the miseries? Please read 5, 6, and 7.
Text 5. Deriving its nutrition from the food and drink taken by the mother, the fetus grows and remains in that abominable residence of stools and urine, which is the breeding place of all kinds of worms. Text 6. Bitten again and again all over the body by the hungry worms in the abdomen itself, the child suffers terribly agony because of his tenderness. He thus becomes unconscious moment after moment because of the terrible condition. Text 7. Owing to the mother's eating bitter, pungent foodstuffs or food which is too salty or too sour, the body of the child incessantly suffers pains which are almost intolerable.
Thank you. So these are all miseries of a child. So he's nicely, tightly pegged in the womb of the mother, just near the place where urine stool is there. And then small microbes, they bite his body. And that is the reason the sometimes mothers are told not to eat certain things when child is in the womb. And nowadays, no, people don't believe. They think, oh, you can eat anything. But they are not aware that the child suffers. Child suffers whenever mother doesn't eat some food which has extreme taste. But those foods are in mode of passion. So they create trouble for the child. And then further Mary are explained. Please read 8, 9, 10.
Text 8. Placed within the amnion and covered outside by the intestines, the child remained lying on one side of the abdomen, his head turned toward his belly, and his back and neck arched like a bow. Text 9. The child thus remains just like a bird in a cage, without freedom of movement. At that time, if the child is fortunate, he can remember all the troubles of his past 100 births, and he grieves wretchedly. What is the possibility of peace of mind in that condition? Text 10. Thus, endowed with the development of consciousness from seventh month after his conception, the child is tossed downward by the ears that press the embryo during the weeks preceding delivery, like the worms born of the same filthy abominable cavity. He cannot remain in one place.
You can
Hmm.
read one more. Last
Hmm.
verse.
Text 11. The living entity in this frightful condition of life, bound by 7 layers of material ingredient, prays with folded hands, appealing to the Lord who has put him in that condition.
Thank you. So let us see. I'll try to share one video. Many of you must have seen also. It's like very popular in ISKCON. But let us see if it is visible, then visible and audible. Then we will play it. Otherwise, we'll just leave it like that. So I'll just try to show it. Put the original sound. So it has two parts. I'll play in both the parts. So let us see if it is visible. Is it visible to all the devotees?
Yes, Prabhuji.
And let us see if it is audible also. So just a minute, I'll increase the volume to maximum. Audible also?
Not yet, Prabhuji.
Not yet?
Only visible, Prabhuji, not audible.
Somebody know some settings to display video? Okay, I'll turn off original sound and let us see if it works. Now audible?
Not yet, Prabhuji. This video we have seen, Prabhuji, earlier also.
Okay. Then I'll just play. very graphical video. We'll begin with the verses again. Continue with the verses. Now come the prayers for the devotee jiva within the womb. So only if he is a devotee, he gets the
Prabhuji, may
support.
I ask a question?
Yes, Rasavan.
Prabhuji, like we have seen this video, in the video we have seen that until the child is born, if he is fortunate, he remembers Narayan. He makes so many prayers. But as soon as he is born, we see that most of the children forget everything, and they seem to start learning from a fresh angle, from fresh perspective. Why is this so?
Actually, it is not a fresh angle or fresh perspective because there are imprints within the subtle body. But then what happens is a temporary realization may not change that desire. So that is why the desire is very important. Like what to say for the child, even for many of us also. Sometimes we attend certain classes, we attend sometimes certain kirtans, and we get a now such an energy. I leave the world and everything, and just know my life is devoted to Krishna. No more sense gratification. And then nice pizza Mahaprasad comes and we forget everything. So that is like true, not just with the child, with all of us also. And that is why it's a regular sadhana to remind ourselves of the miseries of this world. At the same time, also get a determination that, my dear Lord, enough of serving the senses. Now I will serve only you. So that's why it's not only with the child, for everyone. So when we want to forget Krishna, or we have some other desires mixed with our desire to serve Krishna, accordingly, material nature provides the facilities. So till we come to the situation where we say, I will serve only Krishna, not my senses at all, these mixture of opportunities will come. Unless until we get a pure desire, only Krishna and only I'll serve Krishna's senses, not my own senses. So material nature is just a, like you can say, medium for providing the facilities. And that is why Dev Maya makes one forget. Because that desire to forget is there. It's there with it. I hope I am able to answer this.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay. Now please read 12, 13, 14.
Text 12. The human soul says, I take shelter of the supreme. I take shelter of the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears in his various eternal forms and walks on the surface of the world. I take shelter of him only because he can give me relief from all the fears, and from him I have received this condition of life, which is just befitting my impious activities. Text 13. I, the pure soul, appearing now bound by my and activities, am lying in the womb of my mother by the arrangement of Maya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him who is also here with me, but who is unaffected and changeless. He is unlimited, but he is perceived in the repentant heart. To him I offer my respectful obeisances. Text 14. I am separated from the Supreme Lord because of my being in this material body, which is made of five elements, and therefore my qualities and the senses are being misused. Although I am essentially spiritual, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to material nature and living entities, because he is devoid of such material body, and because he is always glorious in his spiritual qualities, I offer my obeisances into him.
So in this way, Jiva identifies his pitiable situation. He identifies that Lord is giving all the help by being besides me. He's just next to me. At the same time, he's not affected, whereas I am affected. So he can give me protection. He's waiting for me to turn towards him. He's spiritual and I'm occupying this material body. And that is why he gets a desire to take shelter of the Lord. And currently he has like a lot of repentance within the heart. I have committed past life, sins of so many sins in the past life. Please read 15, 16, 17.
Text 15. The human soul further prays. The living entity is put under the influence of material nature and continues a hard struggle for existence on the path of repeated birth and death. This conditional life is due to his forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, without the Lord's mercy, how can he again engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord? Text 16. No one other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the localized Paramatma, partial representation of the Lord, is directing all inanimate and animate objects. He is present in the three phases of life, past, present, and future. Therefore, the conditioned soul is engaged in different activities by his direction. And in order to get free from the threefold miseries of the conditioned life, we have to surrender unto him. Text 17. Fallen into a pool of blood, stool, and urine, wherein the abdomen of his mother, his own body is scorched by the mother's gastric fire. The embodied soul, anxious to get out, counts his months and prays, my Lord, when shall I, a wretched soul, be released from this confinement?
In this way, this child remembers that I am bound by time and space, but Lord is beyond time and space. So only Lord, who is free from time and space, he can deliver me, no one else can deliver me. So the main cause of suffering is not the womb of the mother. The main cause of the suffering is forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord, who is just next to me, who can free me at any time. So it's like the example is given of the example of a web. So web is created by the spider and is created from the saliva of the spider. Similarly, this entire material nature created by Maya, which is like a spider web, is created by Supreme Lord only. It is his energy. Like web is created from the saliva of the spider. Similarly, this world is created by the Maya of Supreme Lord in form of material energy. But spider himself is not caught in his own web, so he walks very freely. But whenever small worm or fly or insect, it enters in the spider web, it gets caught. And then a spider in the form of death personified consumes this fly or mosquito. But this fly or mosquito can be rescued by some external help. Especially when he's caught up, more he tries to escape, more he becomes caught up, more he becomes entangled. But if there is external help, some human being goes, picks up the fly, he can release. Similarly, Supreme Lord is the only person who is free in this world. He can only help us. So because of such a pitiable situation, the soul says, my Lord, please tell me when I'll be released from this confinement. And then further what happens? There's some change in prayer now. Please read 18, 19, 20.
Text 18. My dear Lord, by your causeless mercy, I am awakened to consciousness. Although I am only 10 months old, for this causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the friend of all fallen souls, there is no way to express my gratitude but to pray with folded hands. Text 19. The living entity in another type of body sees only by instinct. He knows only the agreeable and disagreeable sense perceptions of that particular body. But I have a body in which I can control my senses and can understand my destination. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whom I have been blessed with this body and by whose grace I can see him within and without. Text 20. Therefore, my Lord, although I am living in a terrible condition, I do not wish to depart from my mother's abdomen to fall again into the blind well of materialistic life. Your external energy called Dev Maya at once captures the newly born child and immediately false identification, which is the beginning of the cycle of continual birth and death begins.
Thank you. So in this way, initially child prays, please release me from this terrible situation in the womb. But then he says, but actually speaking, I am in a fortunate condition. Why? First thing is, I have a human body unlike other bodies. In other bodies, living entities, practically speaking, have no freedom. Their entire consciousness is just focused on eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But in this body, I can control my mind and senses. I can worship you. At the same time, if I am born, then your Dev Maya is waiting, which will give me so many substandard to make me forget you. So that is why what I should do? I should stay back in this womb and practice Krishna consciousness here only. Because here there is no Maya. At the same time, I have a human body to practice practice bhakti, practice Krishna consciousness. So now he prays, I don't want to get out of this womb. I want to remain in this womb only. Like Sukdev Goswami. He didn't want to go out. He stayed in the mother's womb for a long time. Please 21 also. 21 also. This one verse.
Therefore, without being agitated any more, I shall deliver myself from the darkness of nescience with the help of my friend, clear consciousness, simply by keeping the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu in my mind. I shall be safe from entering into the wombs of many mothers for repeated birth and death.
Thank you. So currently I have one friend with me which is clear consciousness, which this friend may depart because of the power of Yoga Maya, the future. And that is why with this clear consciousness, just me meditate on the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, so that I don't have to enter in the wombs of other mothers. So I may be currently suffering, but I can completely save myself from sufferings in other wombs of the mothers if I stay in this place and perform your bhajan. So my dear Lord, I don't want to come out. I want to stay here only. But as I said, this is not like the only desire, and that is why something else happens. One more thing is here 10-month-old is given, the verses. And I asked this from one of my sisters, who's also a gynecologist. She was telling that Vedic calculation of 10 months, because in a year we have 360 days according to Vedic calculation and 365 days according to, you can say, modern calendar, English calendar. So number of days, there some difference is there. They also make a calculation, the gynecologist, that is according to their calculation, or their calculation is translated into Vedic calculation, it is 10 months. Now 22 to 31 discusses about suffering of the jiva after he comes out of the womb. Please read 22, 23, 24.
Text 22. Lord Kapila continued, the 10-month-old living entity has these desires even while in the womb. But while he thus extols the Lord, the wind that help perturbation propel him forth with his face turned downward so that he may be born. Text 23. Pushed downward all of a sudden by the wind, The child come out of with great trouble, head downward, breathless, and deprived of memory due to severe agony. Text 24. The child thus fall on the ground, smeared with stool and blood, and plays just like a worm germinated from the stool. He loses his superior knowledge and cries under the spell of Maya.
So as soon as he thinks, I will not come out, Lord says, no, you have still have other desires. Come out. So the wind propels and with great difficulty comes out, being smeared with stool and blood and all this green substance. And then that is how he's like, he loses his knowledge during that time. According to modern medical science, there is a release of oxytocin, which causes the loss of memory. But actual reason is, it is done so that one can enjoy the next life. If one remembers the miseries of past life and identifies with the past life, then one cannot enjoy this whole life. And that is the reason matta smritir jnana apohanam cha. Lord makes us forget also. Lord makes us remember the current life and forget the past life. Under exceptional cases, people have past life, but in general, it is not. Please read 25, 26, 27.
Text 25. After coming out of a boredom, the child is given to the care of person who are unable to understand what he wants, and thus he is nursed by such person. Unable to refuse whatever is given to him, he falls into the undesirable circumstances. Text 26. Lay down on the foul bed, in, infested with sweat and germs. The poor child is incapable of scratching his body to get relief from, from his itching sensation, to say nothing of sitting up, standing, or even moving. Text 27. In helpless condition, giants, mosquitoes, bugs, and other germs bite the baby whose skin is tender, and just as small worms bite a big worm. The child, deprived of his wisdom, cries bitterly.
Thank you. So then the small children, even when he's born, his limbs are not working properly. And because limbs are not working properly and even the Gyanendriyas are not working properly, he can't express himself. He just cries. And that is why many times people misunderstand, and instead of doing one thing, they do the other thing. For example, a mosquito is biting. Mother thinks, child is hungry. She tries to, feed the child again and again. And especially if they they forcefully take a spoon and put a lot of milk in the mouth of the child, he gets loose motions also. He cannot digest it. So he's not hungry, but he's forced to drink whatever comes in the mouth. And he cannot express that, no, I'm bitten by the mosquitoes. And nowadays people have this diapers, and they put the diapers, and the child sometimes, in certain families, people are so busy with earning money, child remains with stool and urine for the whole day. So such a abominable condition is there. Like for us, somebody passes stool in the underpants, and then you tell him to stay for 4-5 hours, it will be such a misery. For child to remain for a whole day, it's like, and then worms come and bite, and he's not able to express basically. So not able to communicate, not being able to communicate is like a great misery in itself. Like for us also, sometimes very miserable. We may not mind solutions for our problems. Even if we are just able to express the trouble, we get a lot of sense of relief. But child doesn't have any such opportunity. And then he has to forcefully accept certain conditions which he doesn't want also. Some parents are so lazy nowadays. It's like Okay, not to criticize, but no, one of the mothers I know that child pass stool and urine, they don't even clean. They just now spray some powder and this and that, and that's why they cover everything. Such a, and they say no, no, our child is pretty modern. No, yes, diapers. So the point is the child has to accept so much of suffering. Please read 28, 29, 30.
Text 28. In this way, the child passes through his childhood, suffering different kinds of distress, and attains boyhood. In boyhood also, he suffers pain over desires to get things he can never achieve, and thus, due to ignorance, he becomes angry and sorry. Text 29. With the growth of the body, the living entity, in order to vanquish his soul, increases his false prestige and anger, and thereby creates enmity towards similarly lusty people. Text 30. By such ignorance, the living entity accepts the material body, which is made of 5 elements, as he himself. With this misunderstanding, he accepts non-permanent things as his own and increases his ignorance in the darkest region.
Thank you. So now as soon as child grows, it is not that miseries decrease, because children have a nature to have lot of desires. Sometimes they want certain things which are very, very harmful for them. Especially I remember in my childhood, it's like these hawkers would come, and as soon as they know that there are a lot of kids in this colony, they'll make a lot of sound. Ting, 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 ting. It's like, making sound that pani puri and dahi bhalla and all these things have come. And then we would like to eat it, and father would say, no, it's very dirty, so much dust is going inside. They are so unclean. You should not eat all these things. So it was like, no, children generally wait when they will become young and they'll become independent. So generally, especially teenagers, they want to really grow very fast and they become young. And sometimes parents express by seeing their misery, childhood days were so good. There, it was not like, no, every day you have to go to office, you do have to go to your business, all this and that. Such a nice life. But in childhood, person wants to grow because he is controlled by so many people. Especially when the ego grows, person doesn't want to hear, and he is forced to hear. So my own younger brother, I remember, he's a good devotee, initiated devotee now, very vibrant preacher also. But when he was small, because he was youngest in the family, sometimes he would become frustrated and he would touch his own feet. And he would say, why? That no, so many elderly people come and no, I have to touch everyone's feet. Nobody touches my feet, so I touch my own feet. So that desire to get respect is there. So all these things, they also cause suffering. And sometimes such non-permanent nonsense things, many times, they become a goal of life. Like one of my childhood, this was, because my parents were very strict, so they would allow me to play outdoor game. That because of my good fortune. But they would not allow me to like sit in front of television or play these video games. Because my father would say, no, it is not good for health. So my goal of life was, as soon as I'll get money, I'll play video games. I'll purchase something and I'll play video games. But then now it looks like such a stupid dream is there. So in every, you can say, age group, according to a certain circumstances, person develops certain sort of material desires. And being absorbed in that situation, one thinks that this particular situation is like perfection. So in this way, accepting non-permanent things as permanent one grows one's. Please read 31 also.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
For the sake of the body, which is a source of constant trouble to him, and which follows him because he is bound by ties of ignorance and fruitive activities, he performs various actions which cause him to be subjected to repeated birth and death.
Thank you. So in this way, although there are certain situations, certain goals which are cause of trouble, but to fulfill those goals, one accepts all sort of troubles, and then that is how a person becomes further very much entangled. Like you must have seen, like my observation, one of our devotees wanted to become a motivational speaker, and during his research, he found out that among the age groups who see a motivational speaker, 80% of them or 70% of them are teenagers. So I was surprised why teenagers are there. And then he said the point is teenagers are pretty impractical. They think, no, we'll become the emperor of the world in 10 days and this and that. And it's like, no, so many dreams are there. And these motivational speakers motivate them to become more impractical. So that is how they are the ones who are so much attracted to the motivational speakers. And many times they take many wrong measures to just fulfill their dreams. So you'll find sometimes, certain teenagers getting into the drug selling circles or some illegal business, etc. And that is how people become very much entangled. So they don't understand that there are certain gross realities which are quite different from the dreams. So that is how a person performs many wrong activities, especially in the teenage. It's like it's considered, in 5th canto, we'll read it, it is considered like a whirlwind. So in whirlwind, there is a whirlwind, one's eyes are covered by dust, one cannot see anything. Similarly, in the teenage, there is a whirlwind of sense gratification, and a child cannot see anything. So he's ready to do everything for fulfilling his dreams. Please read 32, and then 33 will recite. 32, 35, but 33 will recite.
Text 32. If therefore the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by sensually minded people, engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before.
Can you repeat this verse after me? Satyam socham dayamonam
Satyam Socham Dayamonam
buddhihi srirhir yasa shama
Buddhi Shri Hir Yasha Shama
samodamo bhagascheti
Namo Damo Bhagas Cheti
yat sangatyati sansayam.
Yat Sangadyati Sanshayam.
Translation.
Translation. He becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. Purport. Those who are too addicted to sex life cannot understand the purpose of the absolute truth, nor can they be clean in their habits, not to mention showing mercy to others. They cannot remain grave and they have no interest in the ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life is Krishna or Vishnu. But those who are addicted to sex life cannot understand that their ultimate interest is Krishna consciousness. Such people have no sense of decency. And even in public streets or public parks, they embrace each other just like cats and dogs and pass it off in the name of lovemaking. Such unfortunate creatures can can never become materially prosperous. Behavior like that of cats and dogs keeps them in the position of cats and dogs. They cannot improve any material condition, not to speak of becoming famous. Such foolish persons may even make a show of so called yoga, but they are unable to control the senses and mind, which is the real purpose of yoga practice. Such people can have no opulence in their lives. In a word, they are very unfortunate. Text 34. One should not associate with the coarse fool who is bereft of the knowledge of self realization and who is no more than a dancing dog in the hands of a woman.
Strong words are there. And Prabhupada also has strong purport to tell, especially in this world, people are after the pleasures of TBG, tongue, belly, genitals. They fall in the same line. And when especially people are very much addicted to sense gratification, or that becomes the goal of their life, then in order to get that pleasure, person is ready to do anything abominable. And this purpose is Prabhupada written is more about a Western audience. And now especially the metro cities of India are also almost westernized. Like recently I heard in Delhi metro, there was certain law that no, you can't make reels in the Delhi metro. Because people, all these young boys and girls who do all nonsense in the metros, make reels out of. So that is how such crazy things become the goal of people's life. And why does it happen? The whole reason is because people associate with the people who have such desires. So one of the reasons the modern culture is so much spoiled is television, internet, and the social media. So because children are so much exposed to these things, so people who have low characters become the ideals of people. So generally, if you see in the whether in the Bollywood or Hollywood, the actors and actresses, who are they? They are the people with the lowest character in the entire human society. People who are debauchees with no character at all, and they become the heroes of people. We want to become heroes, we want to become heroines. Who is this fellow? One who has no control over mind and senses is called hero. Person is so much eager to get the opposite sex that no, he's ready to kill the entire human society, burn everyone. Such a person becomes the hero of the movie. And when a person is exposed to seeing these people again and again and again and again and again, they also get similar desires. Because people in general don't have brains. I remember once, it's even the clothes people wear, hairstyles people wear. So certain things are so crazy. So at a point of time, I was seeing like, no, these boys were having hairstyle with, they would have like, no, murge ki bang, what we call it. So hairs were like, straight in middle. And they would have a different color. So I was wondering, what is this hairstyle which has come up? It's like something in between coming out like that. So then I heard in some movie, movie actor was having hairstyle like that. So nowadays people have such crazy hairstyles. Entirely 700, only they have like such a big sikha beginning from here and going up to back. And the whole thing is there are some mad fellows who become the superstars, and there are other mad fellows who see them and they try to imitate them. So that's why more than the association of opposite sex, what is condemned is the people who are like dancing dogs in the hands of opposite sex. Why? Because we get the desires of the people with whom we associate. So if a person who is very lusty, if we associate with them, we also become lusty. If we associate with the people who are very sense controlled, who are good devotees, we also get desires like that. So that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Harinam Chintamani, so for different troubles, Like in chanting, sometimes we pause in between while chanting. Suddenly mind goes here and there and we forget that we are even chanting. Sometimes during chanting, what happens is we have a lot of distractions here and there. Sometimes during chanting, there is no rasasavad. That means there is no taste. We somehow do it as a hard work. So he gives many solutions to all the problems. But one common solution to all the problems is associate with sincere devotees who have taste for the chanting of the holy names. Because association of devotees with a particular quality, who possess a particular quality, they also promote that quality through their association. So those who are good chanters, if you hang around them, you will become good chanters. If we want to get taste for Srimad Bhagavatam, associate with devotees who have taste for Srimad Bhagavatam. So then we'll also get taste for Srimad Bhagavatam. If you want to get service attitude, then associate with the devotees who have service attitude. Similarly, if somebody wants to become a dancing dog in the hands of opposite sex, one associate with the people who are already dancing dogs in the hands of opposite sex. And they are so freely available, you don't have to go anywhere. Just see the YouTube and this and that, such people are visible there. Now, only thing is now they're celebrities. And that's not in truth. So that is how association has a lot of effect. Lot of 35. Na tathasya bhaven moho bandhaschan prasangatah
द्वन्द्वश्चान्य प्रसंगता
yosit sangat yatha pumso
योषित संगाद यथा पुंसो
yatha tatsangi sangatah.
यथा तत्संगी संगता.
Is it translation the purport?
The infatuation and bondage which accrue to a man from attachment to any other object is not as complete as that resulting from attachment to a woman or to the fellowship of a man who are fond of women. Purport. Attachment to woman is so contaminating that one become attached to the condition of material life not only by the association of women but by the contaminated association of person who are too attached to them. There are many reasons for our conditioned life in the material world, but the topmost of all such causes is the association of women, as will be confirmed in the following stanzas. In Kali Yuga, association with women is very strong. In every step of life, there is association with women. If a person goes to purchase something, the advertisement are full of picture of women. The psychological attraction for women is very great, and therefore people are very slack in spiritual understanding. The Vedic civilization, being based on spiritual understanding, arranges association with women very cautiously. Out of the four social division, the member of the first order, namely Brahmacharya, the third the third order Vanpras and fourth order Sannyas are strictly prohibited from female association. Only in one order, the householder, is there license to mix with women under restricted conditions. In other words, the attraction for women's association is the cause of material condition life, and anyone interested in being freed from this conditional life must detach himself from the association of women. Text 36. At the sight of his own daughter, Brahma was bewildered by her charms and shamelessly ran up to her in the form of stag when she took the form of a hind. Right?
So there's another verse. Tat srishta srishta srishtesu
Tat srishti srishti srishteshu
koni akhndit deepuman
koniya kandita deepuman
risim narayanam rite
shim nara narayanam rite
yosin mayyeha mayaya.
koshin mayaya.
Is the translation?
Translation. Among all kind of living entity begotten by Brahma, namely man, demigods, and animals, none but the sage Narayan is immune to attraction of Maya in the form of woman. Purport. The first living creature is Brahma himself, and from him were created sages like Marichi, who in their turn created Kashyap Muni and others. And Kashyap Muni and the Manus created different demigods in human beings, etc. But there is none among them who is not attracted by the spell of Maya in the form of woman. Throughout the entire material world, beginning from Brahma down to the small, insignificant creature like an ant, everyone is attracted by sex life. That is a basic principle of this material world. Lord Brahma's being attracted by his daughter is vivid example that no one is exempt from sexual attraction to woman. Therefore, woman is a wonderful creation of Maya to keep the conditioned soul in the shackles.
Thank you. So in these three verses, Lord Kapil Dev strongly probates assumption of the opposite sex as well as assumption of those who are very much fond of enjoying opposite sex. And among devotees, many times, because here like devotees are like been practicing since many years, this becomes a big bewilderment, especially for the brahmacharis, because in temple scenario, one has to deal so much with opposite sex. So at a point of time, there were a lot of controversy in ISKCON where some brahmachari sannyasis were telling that women should be removed from the temples. And in those days, there was no concept of congregation. Devotee means he will permanently stay in the temple only. So then when Prabhupada came to know, Prabhupada said that if brahmacharis and sannyasis have trouble, they should go and stay in the forest. No, Mataji will stay in the temple only. And then Prabhupada, and once more, this was Malti Mataji was telling us. Prabhupada said that if you associate with these women, you will not fall down, you will advance in Krishna consciousness. So then Prabhupada clarified, Prabhupada said that the point is the mentality of seeing women as a sense object is condemned. If you see in the Vedic culture, it's like nowadays things are degraded, but not to so much extent also. But especially in previous years, men and women practically in a joint family especially, so many men, so many women they were there. But we won't find it's a rarely or sometimes not at all that any some sort of illicit sex or any such thing going on. Because people knew or they were trained in their consciousness how to see a particular relationship. So that training of the mind is very important. So certainly the dangers are there which are given in the scriptures. We also have a verse which says that Mata Swastra Titrava Navito Asma Bhavet Balwan Dindiragamo Vidvansam Apikarsati. One should not stay in a secluded place with one's own mother, daughter, or sister. So the point is, senses are very strong. At the same time, when the mind and senses are properly trained, then one can stay in the society where all men and women are there. At the same time, they don't see women as an object to enjoy. And that's true with the women also. So that training is very important. But nowadays, unfortunately, because children are getting trained by media and television, all these things, they are trained to see women as object of enjoyment. So that is the biggest trouble. Biggest trouble is training. So when proper training is there, people know the social norms or how to keep distance and how to deal. Like one devotee in one of the metro cities, we were asking like very senior sannyasi. He was saying that no, Maharaj, how to so much maya is there, how to get protected. Said, and the sannyasi said, in your country, this training is there from very childhood. So from very childhood, you know how to deal with different ladies and different men in different relationships. Some are of motherly age, some are of the equal age, some are of the junior age. And especially in the North India, that nature or that culture of respecting women is very much there. Like in traditional North India, especially in like our places here and there, even very elderly people also touch the feet of unmarried girls. That culture is there. So when there is a respect, there is no desire to exploit. So basically, sense gratification is a desire to exploit for one's own pleasure. That is called sense gratification. But when there is a desire to serve and respect, the desire to exploit is not there. So in Vedic culture was culture of respect. Especially women were respected, and because they were respected, they were not exploited. It is the culture from other side of the world which is based on exploiting the other people, especially the other opposite sex. And that has become so heavy by the medium of the advertisements and movies and all these things, that people are getting trained to see the opposite sex for one's exploitation rather than respect. So there's something practical for devotees, because they like some question which I remember when Brahmachari was asking from Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And Maharaj, you say that now man is like butter and women is like fire, and if you put a fire and butter in front of fire, even if the butter is frozen for hundreds and thousands of years in the ice of North Pole, it becomes molten. But in ISKCON, we find that no, brahmacharis have to deal more with opposite sex than outside. And that's reality also. Maybe in first year of my entering brahmacharya ashram, I had to deal more with Matajis than ever before. My first service was to see the dances of ladies and allow some of them to dance in front of Jagannath. So I don't know, is this first service going to be brahmachari? So the point is that that is something unavoidable. So then what has to be done is culture. So when there is a culture of respect, culture of service, then one can stay in a big family where all the people of all genders, all castes, all nationalities are there, and still we can stay with good harmony. It's possible. So that is why the danger from people who are trained to exploit or enjoy opposite sex is very dangerous. Because they give that mentality, they create that culture environment. Yes, Rai Ramanand.
Ji, I have one question that, as it is mentioned in these verses, that the struggle is for the man, or it is struggle also for the woman also? Just I want to know
So now you
regarding.
may be wondering that Lord Kapila is giving class for only one personality, that is his mother, and she's a woman. And he's telling now don't associate with women. So later on at the end, Lord Kapila will tell that how what is true for men is also true for women. Like for men, women is a trap. For women, man is a trap. But in general, our observation is for women, the biggest maya is children more than men. So, Lakshmi Mata, am I right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So, confirm. I have heard this from many Matajis. So, if you go in a yatra, there are a lot of small children. Women can't concentrate on lectures. Their whole entire attention goes on this child and that child and that child. So, for men, it is like women, and for women, it's like small children. So, for them, things are a little different. They're not exactly same. Okay, Rai Ramanantu.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Now again, further strong verses. Balam me pasya mayaya
बलं मे पश्य मायाया
Sri Maya Jayeno Disam
श्रीमय्या जनो दिशाम्
Ya Kadoti Padakrantan
या करोति पदाकान्तां
Ruvidrambena Kevalam.
ध्रुवे जन्मेन केवलम्.
Very strong verses.
Translation. Just try to understand the mighty strength of my Maya. in the shape of woman, who by their mere movement of her eyebrows can keep even the greatest conquerors of the world under her grip. Purport. There are many instances in the history of the world of the great conquerors being captivated by the charms of Chilopatra, and
Cleopatra.
one has
Cleopatra.
Chilopatra. One has to study the captivating potency of woman and man's attraction for that potency. From what source was this generated? According to Vedanta Sutra, we can understand that everything is generated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is enunciated there, Janmadi Asya Yata. This means that Supreme Personality of Godhead or Supreme Person, the Brahman, the Absolute Truth, is the source from whom everything emanates. The captivating power of woman and man susceptibility to such attraction must also exist in Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual world and must be represented in the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Lord is the Supreme Person, the Supreme Male, as common male wants to be attracted by a female, the prop- propensity similarly exists in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also wants to be attracted by beautiful features of woman. Now, the question is, if he wants to be captivated by such womanly attraction, who would would he be attracted by any material woman? It is not possible. Even person who are in this material existence can give up the womanly attraction if they are attracted by the Supreme Brahman. Such was the case with the Haridas Thakur. A beautiful prostitute tried to attract him in the dead of the night, but since he was situated in devotional service in transcendental love of Godhead, Haridas Thakur was not captivated. Rather, he turned the prostitute into great devotee by his transcendental association. Therefore, this material attraction certainly cannot attract the Supreme Lord. When he wants to be attracted by woman, he has to create such a woman from his own energy. That woman is Radharani, and
Explained.
it is explained by the Goswamis that Radharani is manifestation of the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the Supreme Lord wants to drive the transcendental pleasure, he has to create a woman from his eternal potency. Thus, the tendency to be attracted by womanly beauty is natural because it is exists in the spiritual world. In material world, it is reflected pervertedly, and therefore there are so many inhabitants. Instead of being attracted by material beauty, if one is accustomed to being attracted by the beauty of Radharani and Krishna, then the statement of Bhagavad Gita, Param Dashka Nirvantate, holds true. And when one is attracted by the transcendental beauty of Radha and Krishna, is no longer attracted by the material female beauty. That is the special significance of Radha Krishna worship. This is this is to testified by the Yamnacharya. He says, since I have become attracted by the beauty of Radha Krishna, when there is attraction for a woman or memory of sex life with a woman, I once spit on it and my face turns into disgust. When when we are attracted by Madan Mohan, the beauty of Krishna and his consorts, then the shackles of conditioned life, namely the beauty of material woman, cannot attract us.
Right. Thank you. So, Prabhupada talks about the higher taste. So, one point which he makes is that so the tendency is there because the tendency is there in the Supreme Lord, and in this world it is other way around. In the sense, it is perverted. So there the pleasure in the spiritual world is the pleasure of service. In the material world also, there is a pleasure of service only, but service to one's own senses, not other person's senses. So in the spiritual world, one gets pleasure or on a spiritual pleasure. Spiritual pleasure means one gets the pleasure by serving the senses of Krishna and other devotees. So we cook nice prasad and offer bhoga to Krishna. Krishna's senses are satisfied. Then we offer that prasadam to the devotees, and devotees' senses are enlivened. And by seeing Krishna happy and devotees happy, we become very happy. So that is pleasure of service. But the pleasure of sense gratification is that I want to give pleasure to my senses, and that is why I put all the efforts just to enjoy. So that is the pleasure of sense gratification. But when one serves the Supreme Lord, naturally in due course of time, because it's natural for living entity, one gets a higher taste in serving Krishna, serving devotees. And that taste inspires a person to serve Krishna further. Second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time. And when that pleasure arises, that despite so many miseries in this world, despite so many difficulties in this world, person helplessly serves Krishna. So in the
Prabhuji,
last day,
helplessly.
serves Krishna.
Sorry.
So we find in the last days of Prabhupada didn't have enough strength to even move his body, turn his body. The two devotees would turn his body from here to there. But when it came to speaking Bhakti Vedanta purports, Prabhupada was so enthusiastic. You can see his video. Jayadeva Maharaj is practically pushing the mic in his mouth so that the sound will come out. And Prabhupada is like, no, speaking Bhakti Vedanta purports. Why? Because that attraction to serve Krishna is so strong that one doesn't care for the miseries of this world. But how will it happen? It happens in due course of time when we continue to serve Krishna again and again and again and again. And again. So why it's like no Krishna consciousness is so powerful, so many people become attracted. But it's natural for the living entities to serve Krishna. It's everyone's nature. That's why the work of the preachers is somehow engage people in Krishna service through taking prasad, through chanting of the holy names, dancing, or having some physical services done. And in due course of time, people will realize that yes, this is the real pleasure. And as the time passes, this pleasure keeps on increasing and increasing. So that is a drive for devotees to serve Krishna despite all difficulties. Please read 39, 40, 41.
39. One who aspires to reach the culmination of yoga and has realized himself by rendering service unto me should never associate with an attractive woman, for such a woman is declared in the scripture to be the gateway to hell for the advancing devotee. Text 40. The woman created by the Lord is the representation of Maya, and one who associates with such Maya by accepting services must certainly know that this is the way of death, just like a blind well covered with grass. Text 41. A living entity who, as a result of attachment to a woman in his previous life, has been endowed with the form of a woman, foolishly looks upon Maya in the form of a man, her husband, as the bestower of wealth, money, house, and other material assets.
In 39 and 40, again that danger of associating with opposite sex is mentioned. And one very specific thing is mentioned is accepting services from the opposite sex. So especially people who are those who are in the renounce order. So for them it is recommended not to take service from the opposite sex. And that's like very difficult to avoid in the ISKCON scenario. So Jayadvaita Maharaj tells his realization. When he read, and he was like with the person who was even editing these things. When he read that line, Jayadvaita Maharaj said that I was very careful not to take seva from any Mataji. So in BBT only when Mataji was there, so she would see that Maharaj was working so hard. She would bring one big papaya, cut it into small pieces, offer to the Lord, and give to Maharaj. And Maharaj said, I was very careful not to accept even a single piece. I would distribute all the fruits to everyone else. So that's like Maharaj was saying. And the reason is that women have a natural inclination to serve. They have a natural inclination to serve. And it is service which actually wins the heart. So why do we serve Krishna? Why do we serve Vaishnavas? Because when we serve them, we become attached to them. And when they accept our service, then naturally that love, attachment, and blessings come from the heart. They're like very, very natural. So if you want blessings from someone, just serve him. You don't have to go and ask, Maharaj, give me blessings, give me blessings. Sometimes we may ask for blessings and it will be a botheration for Maharaj, why this fellow is coming and creating trouble for me, get aside. But if we really serve Maharaj, Maharaj automatically his blessings will come. So service automatically attracts blessings. So similarly, when we accept any service, certain obligation comes. Now there's something political, but the same principle is applied there also. So current Prime Minister of a country, when he got his cabinet 9 years back, he told all the members not to take service from anyone. He said some car person with a car or auto would come and tell, no, I can leave you to this place or that place. And he said, don't accept service. If you accept the service, you will be obliged to give favor to him in the future. So as soon as we accept service, some obligation comes. And that is the reason it is especially for the people on the renounce order, they are told not to accept service. Unless until one is very pure to just transfer the service to Supreme Lord directly. And 41 is like, not till now, like some devotees were asking, Arey, why is Kapil Dev speaking to this mother? So now he makes a flip and makes it applicable for his mother also. That as women is a Maya for man, man is also a Maya for woman. Because woman sees man as the bestower of wealth, progeny, house, material assets. And she thinks that no, my husband is my maintainer. But actually, Supreme Lord is the maintainer and is maintaining us through various mediums. And we can serve those mediums also by seeing how they are agents of Krishna. If we see people around us as agents of Krishna or part and parcel of Krishna, our service, whether we are rendering or accepting, is never frustrated in this world. Otherwise, even within the devotee circle, many times we have heard the complaints where some devotee complains saying, I served this senior devotee so much and what did he do in the return? He exploited me, cheated me, this and that. So the whole problem was because when you were serving, you were not able to see how this person is actually giving us Krishna service. So if we see how this person is giving a Krishna service, we will be grateful that this person is agent for me to serve Krishna. So then we'll be grateful and we will not complain. And that is true for family men, That's true with even husband, wife, and children, and all these relationships, mother, father. If we see them as agents of Krishna or devotees of Krishna or connected to Krishna, then we will not be frustrated. Otherwise, whenever we render service with some any ulterior motive here means motive of getting some sense gratification, either gross or subtle. Subtle in the form of recognition, etc. There are chances of frustration. And that is why Bhakti Saraswati would say that the real problem in this world is lack of Krishna consciousness. If we can see everything connected to Krishna, there is no misery at all. So especially in the current world, the greatest misery is misery from relationships, broken relationships or better relationships. The whole point is because Krishna is not the center. Krishna is center, there is no trouble. Okay. Please read 42 also.
A woman, therefore, should consider her house, and her children to be the arrangement for the external energy of the Lord for her death, just as the sweet singing of the hunter is death for the deer.
So especially for deer, the ears are very vulnerable. As soon as deer hears some sweet sound, becomes attracted. So similarly for women also. So of course their ears are also very vulnerable. They become very appreciative of somebody who is a good singer. But for him also, he should understand that the charms of this world, if they are not connected to Krishna, then they simply distract us from our devotion service. So for especially householders, it is said that that's why they have to try to Krishnaize everything. Krishnaize their services, Krishnaize their relationships, and see things in connection with Krishna. And for those who are in renounce order, if it is possible, they can fully avoid also. Okay. Now we'll discuss about birth and death and going beyond. Please read 43, 44, 45, and 46.
Due to his particular type of body, the materialistic living entity wanders from one planet to another, following fruitive activities. In this way, he involves himself in fruitive activities and enjoys the result insistently. In this way, the living entity gets a suitable body with a material mind and senses. According to his fruitive activities, when the reaction of his particular activity comes to an end, that end is called death. And when a particular type of reaction begins, that beginning is called birth. When the eyes lose their power to see color or form due to morbid affliction of the optic nerve, the sense of sight becomes deadened. The living entity, who is the seer of both the eyes and the sight, loses his power of vision. In the same way, when the physical body, the place where perception of objects occurs, is rendered incapable of perceiving, that is known as death. When one begins to view the physical body as one's very self, that is called birth.
Thank you. So now definition of birth and death is given here. And the reason for birth and death is also given here. So when does a person die? When the reactions connected to this body have ended. So it's like we had certain sort of karma, and the reactions of those karmas we were supposed to endure in this body. So when all those reactions are exhausted, we give up this body and we accept another body. So that is how death and birth happens. And also, this human body or any body is an opportunity to fulfill one's desires. When the body is not capable enough to fulfill any of our further desires, then we give up this body and we accept another body. That's why you'll find sometimes in the old age, during the time of death, people are so fearful, somehow they want to fulfill their desire. So I remember one devotee, his father's friend was there. That fellow was about to die. So both of his kidneys had failed, liver was not working, because of which the stomach was very much bloated, and he knew that he is about to die. And then he told to his son, why did I earn so much wealth throughout the whole life? So I want to fulfill my desires now. He was just about to die within few hours. So he told that, no, murga pakao. You want to eat pork? And then no, he ate nicely and he died. Food ended, he also ended. I was thinking, how can this be a desire of a person? It's like he's already fixing his next birth while dying. Thinking of pork. So this body is also meant for fulfilling one's desires. When body is not fit enough to fulfill one's desires, then one accepts like another body. And what is birth and death? If we are aware of a gross situation, that time we are living in that situation. So when we are aware of gross and subtleties of gross world, that is called the state of being awake. When we are not aware of the gross world and we are aware of the mind and senses of the subtle world, that time we are in a dreamy state. When we are not aware of the gross and subtle world, but we are aware that we exist, that is called susupti or deep sleep. First is called jagrati, second is called swapna, third is called susupti. And when one is aware of the spiritual realm, it's called turya. But if suddenly one becomes aware of another gross world in another gross body, that is called birth, janma. So this is how all these statuses are described in the scriptures. So we'll have last two verses now. Somebody would read.
Text 47. Therefore, one should not view death with horror, nor have recourse to defining the body as soul, nor give way to exaggeration in enjoying the bodily necessities of life. Realizing the true nature of the living entity, one should move about in the world free from attachment and steadfast in purpose. Text 48. Endowed with the right vision and strengthened by devotional service and a pessimistic attitude towards material identity, one should relegate his body to this illusory world through his reason. Thus, one can be unconcerned with this material world.
Thank you. So these last two verses are the sum and substance of the instructions in these chapters of by Kapil Dev. First instruction which he gives is, don't see death with horror, because after death we will get another body, and for devotees they don't have to worry at all. The reason is, even if we get next body, we will get a better situation to practice Krishna consciousness, and that is why devotees don't have to worry about death at all. Even if we are not able to go to Goloka, we will get a better circumstance to practice Krishna consciousness, because birth means a next opportunity to fulfill one's desires, and because we have cultivated so many spiritual desires by mercy of Srila Prabhupada, so then we will have a better future. We don't have to worry at all. So one should not be fearful of death. Similarly, nor have recourse to defining the body as soul. At the same time, don't think that no, this body is all in all and is meant for enjoying sense gratification. That's why one should not accumulate too many sense objects to enjoy sense gratification. So this is also like an instruction by Lord Kapil Dev, because when we accumulate situation things for sense gratification, we have to maintain them also, and maintenance takes away a lot of time. Like my parents know, for them when house was not there many years back, many decades back, it was like that desire to make a house, make a house, make a house. Now they have like such a big house, 3-floor house. So every day in morning, father has to spend 2.5 hours to just clean the whole house. He's like very specific about cleaning. Our house is so clean you can eat prasadam in the floor also. But then every day he has to spend so much time just in maintaining this house, and now he feels now I'm it's like retired person and I should serve in temple full time, and I'm just able to do my sadhana, no service, and the whole time goes in serving this house only. So point is, too much of accumulation of things for sense gratification, they need time for maintenance. So don't accumulate too many things for bodily necessities. One should be accumulate those things which are utmost necessity, and they may be different for different people, but whatever is minimum necessity one should do. And in this way, realizing that we are not body, we are soul, one should be free from attachment to this world, or have attachment only in relationship with Krishna, and do the needful. So these are the following instructions. And then further he says, like this is a question which we were asking, discussing yesterday. One should have pessimistic attitude towards material identity. And that is why, especially these chapters and many chapters, they discuss so much negativity about this material world. So this is an illusory world for which we should have pessimistic view, but we should have optimistic view about spiritual life also along with that. And that is the reason pessimistic view of devotees is not condemned, because it strengthens their optimistic view towards spiritual life, towards service of Krishna. For outsiders, if they have optimistic view about material life, what will one person do? It's like now just commit suicide, that's all. But for a devotee, he has a better option to serve Krishna. That's why pessimistic view of a devotee is not condemned. So that's why using that pessimistic view, one should be unconcerned with this world, and one should strengthen one's devotion service. So these are the instructions by Lord Kapil Dev, and that ends this chapter. So we'll end here, and let us see in this week there are certain changes going to happen in my life. If they are positive, then we'll make in next weekend also, hopefully. So I'm going to change some place. If that is there, so let us open. We'll end here. One Kapil Dev ki
Jai.
Shri Gopal ki.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much for giving opportunity to serve all of you. And Srimad Bhagavatam. Somehow on Bhadra Purnima day only, evening, that is just 2 days back, one day before the class was there, on Friday. So that time Rasal Prabhu called me and told, no, Prabhu, great urgency, nobody is there, you come and speak. And I was also reluctant because actually speaking, I have some interview on Monday. So I was telling, reluctant, I was saying, no, I won't come. But then somehow something clicked me, let me serve Srimad Bhagavatam. Then I thought maybe because it is Bhadra Purnima, Rasal Prabhu became a medium to help me serve Srimad Bhagavatam and serve all of you. So I'm grateful to all of you that I could get an opportunity to serve all of you and Srimad.
He never takes class, Prabhuji. Only he give. When we approach him for classes, he always refused. And he used to give other to chance to please give us a class. Okay, thank you.
He's a Rasal Prabhu. He knows how to, he's very expert in releasing rasa.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.